Okay, we are live and we are with Paul McGinley from the Reality Report, and people are here. This is very cool. I couldn't tell that, but hi, Karen Reese. Karen's with us. Um, Paul, Paul is a really interesting guy. I came upon Paul and Brian Weinstein, um, uh, on their Head in the Box. And I learned about them, I guess, around the McPherson time. You know, when you guys you were, well, in that genre of
Right.
interviewing the same kind of people that I had interviewed. Paul, got the two guys, and you were exclusively right on YouTube, or you had a page.
We started off on YouTube, and
You have to sit up. Your
then we
face.
went to
Uh,
Facebook. Um, but basically, we kind of became known to people once we interviewed Guy McPherson,
yeah.
and we had
Um, got the two guys. What happened? You were. Does everybody hear an echo? YouTube, or you have?
hold on. I've got to shut mine down. It should be no echo now.
Oh, okay. You got to turn your volume, whatever it is.
Yeah, I told
you're
I
like
did.
those obnoxious callers that call into talk shows and want to hear themselves before they get picked.
No. It's because I wanted to share it on my page.
Paul, you're
So it
supposed to laugh.
defaults to volume on.
You're supposed to laugh, Paul. We're not
Oh,
serious
I'm sorry.
today.
I get overwhelmed with technical issues, Sandy, so
Yeah.
I get all serious.
Don't get serious because it's Unserious Sunday. You're on Environmental Coffee House, and I do a fair amount of goofing because of the serious nature of the shit we talk about. And naturally, that comedic side of me just comes out. It's just the way it is because of, I mean, people say you talk, they can't even look at our page on an everyday basis, some people,
Right,
because
right.
of the stuff we put on every day. And I understand it. And that's why I also put up support things and like links to Positive Deep Adaptation and Dean Spillane and Carolyn Baker and people that can support you during this. Well, it's never going to be different. Well, let's see. We've got people with us. We've got Matt Nelson. Matt Nelson's a climatologist. And we've got Lori Root Riley with us. Lori's from Houston. Lori is an amazing person who survived the horrible floods and the hurricane. We've got Karen. Karen's from California. She lives in fire territory. Steve's with us. Steve's a progressive as hell guy. I know everybody because they've been following me and I love them all. They're my friends.
That's wonderful.
And Facebook is a different, a bit of a different beast than YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And the Facebook, because I started with Real Progressives, I wasn't mainly about climate change. I became that whole thing once I guess I found Guy McPherson, like a lot of people, and Hambo. And all of a sudden, it's like I woke up with Bernie. And so a lot of people that follow, we all woke up together with Bernie. And I went to the 2016, I went to the convention for Real Progressives. I didn't go in, I covered outside.
Mm-hmm.
We interviewed people live. It was amazing. It was before my body was really bad because I can't do that. Gregory Mallard's with us. This is great. I'm really, really, really glad that you guys, my hardcore people that I love and are here. So Paul, let's hear about you and how you started out on this whole thing, because everybody knows me.
Well, Brian and I were friends dating back to college days back in the late 70s. And we maintained a correspondence, both verbal and written. And we discussed a lot of issues, primarily social, economic issues, things that interested me. Brian has a political knowledge. He tends to steer towards the political end of things.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian has always been involved in videos, and I'm a reader, so I stayed away from that sort of thing. So eventually, we kind of developed the idea of just taping or dialogues with each other, and that's how the Reality Report started. We put it on Brian's Head in the Box channel on YouTube. That's Head in the Box, and and we didn't get too many viewers initially. I mean, we kind of had personal friends watching us and so on, and then we had our first interview with Guy McPherson, who Brian had followed for a while. I was fascinated with Guy's message, absolutely fascinated. And I emailed him one day and I said, "Hey, you're interested in joining our show?" And he said, "Yes." Guy's very gracious in that way, and we had him on, I think, 7 times. And with Guy came a kind of a peripatetic group of climate change people. And I don't know how many they are, but they number in the hundreds. And we discovered later that say on your channel and Torsten's and so on, that many of the names were the same, and Black Bear News and so on. And then we realized that, yeah, there is a sort of crowd that we all share to a certain percentage. Of course, we have, to a certain extent, we have unique followers, each of us as well. But I just want everybody to know that we started off as a generalist on generalist topics, much like you, Sandy. I think your show runs very similar in
Activism, pipelines. I really covered and did a lot of extensive research on Enbridge and all of the companies and the pipelines and the millions of miles through the United States of pipelines, and because it was Standing Rock and Convention. Yeah, that's how I'd say.
I mean, we're kind of similar. I mean, I think Kevin at Black Bear pretty much focuses on climate change. Paul, I don't know what Hambone talks about everything. I think, but
on Collapse Chronicles,
you could describe that a bit better.
Collapse Chronicles is the channel he does about interviews that are absolutely. He's done some stellar interviews with scientists. I give him a lot of credit.
We had him on once, and it was definitely one of our funniest programs. He's got a natural sense of humor that is just outstanding. We actually had a great time, and but that's the limit of our contact with him. And then, of course, Torsten is all climate change. So again,
Torsten is Arctic ice. Torsten
Arctic ice, yeah. So we're kind of generalists, and we plan to remain that way. I invited,
Gary's here.
I tried to get Michael Moore on our show. I tried to get Alex Honnold, the free rock climber. I've tried to get Bregman, the economist. I mean, I've shot high and got. You
gotta keep doing it. Yeah. Hey, we have a comment, by the way. I don't want to take you away, but I do want to say what Matt just brought up, because we talk climate change. And this morning, sections of the eastern ice shelf splintered off. So we'll probably have to come back to that. And then he said,
is that Greenland or Arctic itself?
He said as for the Arctic region, it's the smallest ever recorded. So we'll talk about that a bit. Oh boy, Matt needs to come on with me. He said it's 118 Fahrenheit in the Caribbean. So I guess we've got a lot of weather shit going on.
And of course, by the way, I came from the Caribbean. I was born in Jamaica. I lived there for 8 years, lived in the Bahamas for 3 years, and lived in Southeast Asia for 11. But 118, that's pretty much, even to those people who are used to that type of heat, that's untenable. I wonder where in the Caribbean. I suppose somewhere maybe in the ocean, average 118, got hit 118. But I look at Puerto Rico, it's cooked. It's right in a hurricane alley, and I think Florida is in real danger.
Matt lives in Florida.
I'm sorry?
Matt lives in Florida. Who's with
Matt
us?
No, my mother was in Florida, and
so does mine.
And there was some talk about us moving down there, but no, I don't want to move into Hurricane Alley with. I think that the real danger is the rising oceans in South Florida, which is where my mother lives.
He was talking about ocean temperature, which is bad enough because
that's terrible.
It's the life.
That's going to kill the reefs. That'll kill the reefs. I mean. I loved the Bahamas when I lived there, had wonderful reefs, and then they're going to be gone. The reefs, of course, down Mexican side, the Yucatan side, it's rich with reefs. Down Central America, those are all going to be endangered by this kind of heat. obviously. I'm no scientist, but I think we're all aware of that.
Talk about, tell us a little bit about the the Bahamas. Have you been back?
Yes, I went back in 2007, which represented, let me see, I left in 71, so 81, 91, 01. That was a 36-year absence. And it was really kind of a unique experience because I was able to see the difference in fish numbers, marine life numbers, from an anecdotal basis, of course. I mean, when I was my first time of living in the Bahamas, of course, I just wade and I would see starfish, I'd see conch, I would see everything. Now, nothing. I dabbled my line off a dock, and I think I caught one little barracuda like this, ate it, of course. By the way, you can't eat barracuda, folks. Supposedly you can't, but you can, as long as it's this length or less. Okay.
How does Brian feel about that? Your partner in crime there. I think he's vegan, isn't he?
Yes. Brian is a wonderful person. By the way, he couldn't make it tonight. He didn't grade his papers last night, and so he's paying the price. And
boy.
Yeah. But I do want to point out a little thing about fish. A lot of people don't realize. Try and avoid the big fish, folks, and that's because they've got a larger lifetime of ingesting toxins. The smaller fish haven't had as lengthy time doing that, and they tend to be more friendly to our systems. You can develop some nasty stuff, something called ciguatera from eating. So you can't eat barracuda. In fact, barracuda is delicious.
Oh my God, Patrick just said it. He said ciguatera. Huh. Yeah, I got an educated audience. I have, you know Patrick, right?
Oh yeah, we know Patrick. We had him on once.
And wow, Karen said, what did you say, Karen? It's almost bugless in our county. It's spring and we keep getting less and less bugs each year since the fires came. So everybody here, we've got, we're all experiencing something, and that pertains to climate change. But we also all here are somewhat political beings too, Mm-hmm. We're political beings. I know that Brian is more the guy.
Miss Reese's last comment, I'd like to, Karen, it is. Yes. I would like to bring up something that I noticed, Sandy. I want your opinion on this. But, okay, I stopped using Roundup and all that. Like most people, we found it was carcinogenic. And my lawn broke out in dandelions this spring, okay? So what is pollinating that? Okay, because there's no bees. I haven't seen a single bee. So there are other insects that are picking up some of these pollination duties, so to speak. And I'd like to know what they are. I don't see them. But do you have any comments? Or any of our audience here have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. Matt might. Well,
Matt, what is pollinating our dandelions? They're out in full fury this spring. I'm kind of half delighted by it because it tells you that pollination is still going on, a necessary process for our continued existence. So
yeah, I got dandelions, and my husband said, look at the dandelions. And I'm like, they're pretty. Who cares? We live in the country. Who cares? And the other day, purple flower came up. This is how pathetic life is these days when you see a big bee. It was a big bee on the flower right in front of my house, and I started crying. How pathetic is that?
Yeah. I mean, so, it's nice to know something's still pollinating or foods or flowers. I don't know what it is. Wasps. I haven't seen wasps either.
Well, Greg, you might know. Greg says, whoa, don't kill the dandelions. They can be used as food since they're edible. And I don't want to kill them. But, once
agree, Greg.
But once you get to mowing, they're going to, my husband will mow part.
Chopping off their heads, Sandy.
Yeah.
They're like hydras. Their heads grow back.
Yeah, right. I hear you.
But that thought occurred to me today as I was, mowing my lawn. So I think it's kind of good news.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we read all the terrible stuff everywhere that's happening in the world, but it just makes that lovely stuff, like seeing that bee and you seeing the dandelions, just that much sweeter, you know? Even though it is crappy where I live and it's rainy and it's like April weather in May and everything pushes out. You know, we got snow last May. I'm waiting to see if we're going to get snow.
Mhm.
That's something how we migrated to climate change and weather and all, but it's like what's on our minds, you know. Although we could segue into political, and I do know you have Paul did send me a couple of articles that we thought we would discuss also. But I just want to say it's been really nice to have this interaction with the audience right away. You know,
Agreed.
I like
Agreed.
it because everybody. I want them to meet you guys and like you like I do. Helen says we just got a hive in our backyard and put up houses for mason bees and bats. Helen, that's amazing. Cool. That's really great. I love
Yes,
what
I
people
agree.
do.
Did I tell you my
Good.
my bee story in my scrubs? I work in a hospital, so of course I scrubs are my work uniform. So I was in a rush, heading off to work. Grab my scrub out of the closet, and suddenly I started feeling all these nasty pinches, and I yanked the scrub off, and I found a bumblebee. A bumblebee had gotten inside my scrub top, and
Oh
so
my God.
I picked it up with my fingers. It seemed in distress, and I put it outside. I wasn't going to kill it. That's a valuable creature, and fortunately the bites went away pretty quickly.
Good.
I've been stung by all kinds of things growing up in the Caribbean, so I didn't panic or anything. And but the funny thing was, my wife had hung it up outside to dry, and then when she had brought it in,
That's
folded
where
it back, inside out, and the bee was trapped.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
that's the bumblebee story. Funny enough, prior to that, I had no idea whether they bit or stung or whatever. But I read up a little bit about them, and apparently they can bite. They can bite several times without hurting themselves, like honeybees do.
Oh, they can, because I've rode a motorcycle for 32 years and I've had many bees come in the helmet and bite my face or come in my clothing, on the top and bite me. So everybody that's a biker has that.
So that's nothing to you.
Well, it is something every single time, but I'm glad I'm not allergic. That's all.
I meant my story didn't really have the impact I'd hoped.
I had impact. You were at work. You were in your scrubs when that happened. Can you imagine if that bee flew out when you were like in with a patient or something like sensitive like that?
Oh man, that would have been something.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Gaio Smith is with us. Hi, Gaio. He says higher winds help the pollination. So we have actually seen higher winds here in Western New York.
That's interesting.
Yeah. See, everybody is got something to offer, and it's a good Sunday to have this kind of interactive conversation. I like it.
Right. Well, that's good news then. I mean, we can't underestimate the importance of bees and their role. Actually, insects in general, their role in pollination, their role in aerating the soils. It's nice to know that some of those functions are still being performed, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
yeah. And sometimes we like to find those positive things to put up because, you do need a little break from the doom and gloom. And there are positive things in everybody's community. Farmers markets are coming up and things like that. And even in the Midwest, where there's still flooding going on, there are good stories coming out of there. And Nicholas Humphrey, right? The meteorologist that comes on with us.
Right.
He lives in Nebraska, so he talks about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's right in the midst of it, yeah.
Yeah, but he also, it's very difficult for him because he doesn't have a lot of positive stuff to talk about in meteorology. But
right.
Let's see. Torstein says we got no ants. Torstein's with us. Yeah, we have no ants in Buddy's with us too. Hi, CB buddy. I think ants are helping a lot, but no bees. No bees yet where you are?
I haven't seen them either. I have not
well,
seen
that was the one I saw. Only the one. But I was just, thrilled. But did you want to maybe touch upon your articles that you
Sure. I
wrote?
thought you might enjoy this one, Sandy.
Okay.
It's apparently this is from the Earther.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with them, but it was an interesting
I
article.
am.
The activists have delivered giant trash monsters to Nestle headquarters to protest plastic pollution.
Here, I'm going to be very unprofessional and put it right up.
Yeah, please do. Can we see the big pile of plastic there? Yeah, yeah. Good job.
Well, no, I didn't put this on the mode where I could show a screen, or I would have set it up. We didn't have enough time, guys, to make it, a fancy dancy one where I could.
This article was on the 16th of April, and they said, and Tuesday of that week, the Greenpeace. This is Greenpeace. Greenpeace activists had hauled a 15-foot tall heap of garbage that had been crafted to resemble one of those deep sea fish.
Oh.
That 90% jowl out in front of Nestle's U.S. headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. An even bigger trash monster was delivered earlier in the day to the company's global headquarters in Switzerland, while similar leviathans cropped up in Italy, Kenya, and the Philippines.
Let's see if I can get that so everybody can see that better. I don't know. Did I freeze?
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at the article. Yeah.
Okay, you read the article. But, I froze. I'm going to put you on for a minute.
But I'm not going to read the whole thing. We can just discuss the idea. I think it's a wonderful way of making your point. Really, and in this case, we're not putting any human beings at legal danger. By chaining themselves in front of Nestle or something of that nature. I think this is a nice way, a very graphic way of making the point. So, and of course, Nestle is famous here in my area. I live in Toledo, Ohio, which is on the border of Michigan, because not so far away is Flint, Michigan, of course, famous for the water problems, the problems with potable water, but also the town where Nestle draws a good part of its water supply from and markets it under the Ice Mountain label. Is it Ice Mountain or something like that? I forget. But I boycott that water. I try and tell people, my friends,
don't buy it.
Don't buy it, because they're taking water from a small Michigan town and are paying nothing, basically nothing for it. And even though a vast majority of Michiganders are opposed to this action, they nevertheless are able to continue to do it based on contracts they've been able to create with.
Yeah, it's criminal.
It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal.
I hate bottled water. I distill our own water and fill it up for my husband, and he'll go out buy it. But we're getting a water system here. We have to. Our water is well water, and the
glass water. Yeah.
But the guy came the other day, and I bought a test kit for everything, pesticides. It's so hard. It's wrecking things because the water softener stopped using. Water is life.
Right.
Water is life, and
more
that's how
oil. It costs more than oil. It's more important.
But it's
liquid gold.
They ship it in plastic, which is oil.
Single-use plastics. Yeah.
Pretty bad. We hate that.
Yeah,
so I guess I got my internet back. They slow me down. It's really pathetic. I have AT&T. I don't have hardwired. So what happens is if I use my data, they slow it down. And I have no idea what happens. All I know is I probably have all kinds of little waves going through me.
Sandy, telecoms and cable companies, they historically score the lowest as far as customer satisfaction is concerned. This is well known. I mean, you can Google it. Nobody's ever happy with their cable company or their telecom.
Well, if
the
I
service
had
is
though,
crappy,
I wish I had hard water. But you got hardwired going in your house. You've got broadband, right?
You're asking me all these technical questions I don't know. I use a cable. Is
Yeah,
that?
I don't have that. So
Do you know
that's
what I'm
why.
paying for that, Sandy? This is crazy. This is outrageous. I'm paying like 150 a month for this, and I don't even have,
Oh,
and I don't even have a television set. So that's all internet.
wow. Yeah, it's expensive. I'm not even going to tell you how much I pay with data, and then for the things that I do, forget it. It's just it's what it is. I don't even have good internet, and it's expensive. And all I have is this thing. Wait, let me see. Sorry, guys. This thing. And what this thing does is,
Modem, right?
yeah, it brings in the waves from outside, but there's no hardwire because in rural America, they don't do that. They're not going to invest in my area because it's rural. There's nobody here. The Amish don't want it. So,
The Amish have it right.
they don't want it. They don't want it. So why are they going to not? Why is AT&T going to say, "Oh, we're going to hardwire Sandy's house so she doesn't have to have such shitty ass internet"? Yeah, right. Sure, they're not. But hey, everybody out there, let's see. What did Sarah say? She would like one what? What would you like, Sarah? One of those boxes I have? Oh my God. Oh, Helen, she says she has a reverse osmosis system. Yep, that's exactly what I'm getting. A reverse osmosis. It's I didn't plan on doing this whole water thing, Paul, but everything started to go and um you have to do it. I spend a fortune on filters. I have filters in the shower heads, filters in the thing in the kitchen. The cats drink from filters. You have to use filtered water for coffee. So I'm like, I'm spending as much a year on filters. I buy this system.
Right,
Boom.
right,
That's it.
right.
My husband's like, why didn't you do this earlier? I don't know. We
So
had a
Sandy,
lot of
you're close to Buffalo, right? Or
yeah.
are you?
I go to Buffalo for doctor's appointments and stuff.
And but you're in.
Hi, Tommy.
You'd be in Western New York.
Yes,
Right?
I am in Western New York.
Okay.
Hmm?
So
In
yeah.
they call us the Southern Tier. I'm in the Southern Tier of Western New York. So I'm 85 miles from Buffalo, and I'm about 85 miles to PA.
So
Maybe
you
not
are
even.
close to that highway that leads to Erie, Pennsylvania.
No, actually, I'm south of Erie.
Okay, south of Erie.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about 86? 86
Wait a
goes
minute.
into PA, but it goes not to Erie.
Oh no, I got confused.
Erie, no, I could explain Erie though. I used to live on Lake Erie, and I could drive all the way down to Pennsylvania on that back road, right along the lake to Pennsylvania. And we did. We used to ride our motorcycles to Pennsylvania. So it was
Yeah, I
fun.
mean, I think the history of that area is very interesting. I think of the history of Pittsburgh, the Carnegie steel mills, and really made Pittsburgh into one of the biggest cities, I mean, and the most powerful, wealthiest cities in America. Of course, the wealth didn't travel down very evenly to its workers. And of course, the Carnegie steel mills was a scene of some nasty clashes between labor and the ownership.
The history of labor around here too, in
And then
Buffalo with the Bethlehem Steel and the steel mills and how it was here. The exposition
was
in
Buffalo
19...
yes, Bethlehem Steel. Wasn't there a Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, or was that from Buffalo?
No, there's a Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Bethlehem Steel was the big business here. And
Mm-hmm.
1900s, Buffalo was the big industrial boom town because it was on Lake Erie, good proximity to Canada. There was manufacturing, but Buffalo was polluted as hell. There's a lot of cleanup sites all over. Niagara County, where my husband's from, has many of those sites. So, I mean, Buffalonians love to celebrate their heritage, but the heritage has included a lot of environmental devastation, that came along with it. People got very sick. They lived near the steel plant and they inhaled all that shit when there was no regulations. Is that what we want to go back to?
I know. It's funny. You're probably as close to Toronto in Canada as we are. I mean, you just drive up through Buffalo and Hamilton, and we drive through Detroit, cross the bridge, and through Windsor all the way up. It's about 4 hours from us. So I take it's probably about 4 hours for you too.
Yep. I used to go to Canada when I lived on Lake Erie all the time. I mean, before it got such to be a big pain in the ass at the border, but all the time we go over there, we go to and my husband's daughter is in Toronto. She's Canadian. And I have friends there, but I don't go over as much. I don't do anything anymore. So I mean, that's just a given.
We're returning to this Nestle thing.
Okay.
It's amazing. They're extracting Michigan's valuable water resources for basically nothing. And this, I forgot the name of the town. Yeah, it's easily Googleable, but that town is within probably a 2-hour drive from Flint, Michigan, the city that has been forgotten by America, the city that is still struggling to have running potable water and are still living off, I think, brought in single-use plastic bottles full of water. But so Nestle, you think, could donate. Actually, Nestle should just repair the entire infrastructure or start it afresh to be able to allow Flint to have access to fresh water, because given the amount of profit they've made from this virtually free water extraction that's been going on from Michigan, really Nestle should do something like that. Actually volunteer to revive or remake well,
there are 50 bottling plants in Michigan, 50 of them. I was looking.
That area is rich with water. The Great Lakes region. I mean, that is their main asset, one of their main assets. And you think of Michigan, it's got an upper peninsula, all full of water. I mean, the underground. But
130 million gallons a year, and the Swiss company pays $200 a year for a permit.
That's it.
Why is that even
$200 for a permit? Now,
who is making money?
What crooked politician got his pocket greased by that? I mean, I don't know. Or maybe
I've had the activists from Flint on. I've had Desmond Berry, who is actually a part of Environmental Coffee House. He has been with us, and we have had covered this quite a bit in the past. But it's like a blast from the past to bring it up, and it's not in the past for them.
What they've done, Sandy, is Nestle, I think, built a ball field, a ballpark for that town. I mean, just stupid things like that, useless. And they said, okay, well, we'll build your ballpark and renew our contract. The contract, I think, was renewed last year. And they built a second. I saw a picture of the extraction. They've got a fence, of course, a very large fence, around the extraction point where these big tankers go in and they transport the water out. So not only do they take the water, but they're telling the Michigan townspeople, you're not allowed in this. This is ours. This is a bit of an extraterritorial area here that we control.
Just one more neoliberal policy that's a failure.
One
more.
I hate the neoliberals. I really, really do. What they did to our country, in concert, of course, with the evil party. This is one way in which Brian and I clearly differ on our show. I mean, Reality Report is two people, Brian and I, and we don't agree on everything. I mean, we agree on for the main, and mainly we agree on most things, but we have our different areas of interest. We have our different opinions, and Brian will support the Democrats through thick and through thin. I will not. I will go green if I have to. I'm quite left wing. I got to tell you.
You're preaching to the choir here, but the only thing is, I got to fix this because my internet is going kaplooey again. The only thing for me is I do worry because I really do see what's happening. And I feel like if a Democrat, and I'm not going to say any blue would do, I'll never say that. But if a Democrat if Dem doesn't get in, and I feel like I got 6 more years of Trump, and to see, I'm going to die. I'm not going to be here.
I don't know if we would get 6 more years. I think maybe we might get a major I don't want to use the word rebellion because America doesn't have rebellion in their spirit. Americans don't that, but we would have such upheavals. I or maybe Congress would then be just totally filled with Democrats to counter. But I just can't see it persisting as it is now
I can't
without
stand it.
major opposition. Maybe we'd get the electoral college reform as a result of 4 more years of Trump. I mean, the extremism, I think, would lead to the call for major reform,
Yeah.
political and social reform. So it might not be such a bad thing in a way. But this is the thing I like to tell Brian. Hey, if we get some moderate Democrat who really is in a Republican in sheep's clothing, then the distinction between the two are blurred, and that will do greater damage, in my opinion, because you got both sides pretty much working towards the continuation of austerity in regards to social programs.
Yep, and business as usual.
So I actually like the extreme fascist in because that's what really generates the opposition. I think Americans are becoming better informed now about these issues than they ever have been. What do you think, Sandy? I mean, with Trump in there.
We're here, and we woke up. A lot of us. I mean, I say that I was not the Walking Dead, but I was a working person who was immersed in my job, and I knew what was going on. But I had a 4-cylinder Escape. I thought, okay, I'm not burning so much gas. Kind of. But until that Bernie thing, and until that, where I met so many of the people that are with us, online, a lot of us weren't, but now we are, and Trump has woken us up to some horrors, but I think a lot of us were awake and we're just watching, we're watching this show, this sick show takeover of because Bernie told everybody what was going to happen or what was going on pretty much. Mm-hmm. He informed, if anything, he brought up a whole new spirit of young people that were running. I interviewed like 15 or 18 progressive candidates during 2018 before the election. And the Justice Democrats, these young people that got in, they're just refreshing and awesome. And I really enjoyed doing those interviews. It was fun and it made me feel, and I'm not going to say hopium, but it made me feel some good about the short term. Because I know what the long term is.
And AOC is wonderful. I mean, someone of that, someone so young and yet so on top of the issues. She's really well informed.
Yeah, she sure is.
She does her homework. Her whole group really are wonderful. And I don't think we would have had this without Trump. You see, that's my point. If you had a moderate Dem there, let's say, instead of Trump, then it would have been same thing. It would have been the same. There would have been no difference. But you having a Trump, it's a Trump that creates an AOC, that brings an AOC to power. It's a Trump that sharpens Bernie's message. I will say something, Paul. Mm-hmm. When
real progressive, Steve used to say that if Trump gets in, it's like burning down the house, and we will have to start over somehow. And maybe that's it, but it's a pretty sick way to start over because environmentally, it's not good.
You're right, Sandy. But suppose the whole political system is just it's so flawed that it has to be leveled in order to create something really workable, something that's attuned to our needs today. Maybe that's what's necessary. That we cannot work within the confines of our current system with any effectiveness.
I don't think we can.
I don't think we can either.
Yeah.
It's all money politics, both sides.
Both sides.
And
listen, can I digress for just 1 second?
Absolutely.
I have a fabulous friend of Environmental Coffee House here, and I'm going to read her comment. It's going to take up the whole screen. Heidi, She is a Maine activist. She is an amazing woman. Hi, everyone. I just invited our Maine friend, Nikki Sakira, who is here for standing up to Nestle subsidiary, what we call Stolen Spring. Nestle subsidiary, Poland Spring, was allowed to buy water rights to the town of Freiburg, Maine, for 45 years. And her 9-year-old son, Luke, also a hero, in his testimony said that if he didn't give his testimony, then he would have to wait until he was in his 50s to speak again, when the 45-year contract would be up. Right on, Heidi. She's an amazing woman.
Great comment. So Poland Spring, also Nestle subsidiary, as is Ice Mountain. So, you know, let's boycott these people, folks. Or a little bit, you know, we're letting this out. Remember, Poland Spring, Ice Mountain, don't touch it. Don't touch either of them. And Ice Mountain goes, you know, they're getting the water nowhere close to any mountains.
No.
Poland Spring is nowhere near.
And then you go into the grocery store. Here's another thing, you know, you go in the grocery store and you go down that aisle. Now, I used to have to buy distilled water from the sleep apnea machine, right? My husband.
Right.
I bought a distiller because I literally would like in my mouth. I mean, you look at those bottles and then you read what's on, you read the back of them, and they're freaking taking tap water, putting it in plastic. Wegmans is selling it. That's the grocery store around here. To all of us, and people like me who could be desperate because of our water situation being so gross, because we're on Marcellus Shale, so our water also has a gas smell. Also, you know, we're in an area where they want to frack really bad, but New York is a moratorium on it right now. But hey, Pat Lane, I want to say hello to a couple of people. Pat Lane, thank you for joining us. And somebody else joined. I hope you're. Jackie Hanel. Jackie is a scientist. She's got the page. Tell it what? Wait. Oh my God.
Jackie, how do you pronounce your last name?
Do you know Jackie Heinel?
Heinel, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Wait, let me look up her. Tell it to the fossil fuel industry. Oh my God, why am I having a brain fart? Oh, how could I have a brain fart?
Well, the reason I asked that is because I've got a great book written by Robert Heinel, who was a historian, and I'm wondering if you're related. Any chance of that? Robert Heinel. He wrote quite a few wonderful. He wrote a lovely history of Haiti. He wrote a history of Native Americans. Robert Heinel.
Well, she's saying she remembers that Nestle boycott of the 70s and 80s, and yet they're still around. So she's doubtful it'll work now, especially when the corporations are in control. How absolutely horrible. Jackie, is it? It's send the bill to the. Oh my God, how could I be so? I had a brain fart. Send the bill to the fossil fuel industry.
Let me remind everybody that Nestle is a Swiss company. It's not even an American company. I think they're listed in the New York Stock Exchange, but we'd have to check that. I've never invested in it personally, but yeah, Nestle is a Swiss company. And thanks for that message. This has been going on apparently for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, she's going to come on also because she's going to be able to address those issues. Fracking issues, and she knows all about the shale, and she's awesome. So I can't wait for that. NYSE.
New York Stock Exchange. So it is on there. Okay. Yeah. But it is a Swiss company. Sandy, yes, because foreign companies do list on our exchange. Sandy, you and I are old enough, or at least I am. You're probably 30 years old or something, but we're old enough.
Oh yeah, if I was taking my drink, I would have spit that sucker right out.
We're old enough to remember when there was no bottle of water. The only bottle of water was distilled water to pour into your car battery.
Yeah, or the hose.
I mean, I remember just cupping my hands under the outside faucet and scooping on that. Water was great, and it was full of fluoride, so it improved the dentition of kids. Now everyone's drinking from these bottles that is not fluorinated, and I think the dentists are discovering that the teeth aren't as long
as
as
you
they
are
have.
a nurse, do you think fluoridation of water is a good thing?
Yeah, I know there's questions on that, Sandy, but it certainly did help
I
keep.
don't know. I mean,
I
I
don't know
brush
either.
with Toms. I don't even use
Yeah, I
fluoride, but
don't
I'm
know.
60
But the
years old.
point is, okay,
Yeah.
if someone had told me back then as a kid that we would eventually have water bottled, and the cost of that would be certainly higher than an equivalent bottle of pop or a beer. Not energy drink though. Energy drinks are skying up there. But I would have been aghast. What's next? Bottling air? Yeah, we know that's coming too.
There are oxygen bars in New York
Right.
City. There are. You can go sit in New York City and go to an oxygen bar and inhale oxygen. You didn't know that? And I thought it was also in.
No, I need
Well,
to get
I don't know.
more.
I'd have to look it up. I could look it up, but it's like unbelievable.
But Sandy, I mean, this energy drink addiction that
Electrolytes.
is blanketing our youth. I mean, that's scary to me. I stay away from this stuff. And look at those poisons that we're putting into our stomachs. I discovered to my great dismay, I'm a big tea drinker, that 30% of a tea bag is comprised of microplastic.
30%?
I've been taking in plastics.
Holy shit.
I've been drinking plastics for years and years and years. Can't get away from this. We're being poisoned. We're being round up, by our food.
That's why the colonoscopy doctors are making a killing. Oh, my God. We could sit there and say,
Roundup. I'm still caught with half a bottle of Roundup in my garage. I don't know what to do with it.
I think there is a way to get rid of it, but Keith is with us. Keith Boyd.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith. He's from Australia, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
We know Keith very well. Keith's a great guy.
Keith is a great guy. That's right. Jackie says they do have bottled air for China. Yep, I knew that. That.
Guy McPherson mentioned that one of his. I recall him saying that. Yeah. Bottled air.
And then Steve had said earlier, he said Budweiser's owned by a Brazilian company. I wouldn't drink beer, but you know what? Hell with that, with Bolsonaro, and I wouldn't buy anything from that was owned by Brazil right now. Why should I support the devastation of the Amazon, which is happening there? Because they got Bolson-Trumpo.
No, Bolsonaro is the name, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing a lot of people forget. It's not just Trump. It's this fascist. Much of the world now is led by fascist leaders. Putin is an obvious example. Bolsonaro in Brazil.
China.
China. I don't know too much about their leaders.
China, and
their market control and
their control. They control people's moves. If you don't have your cell phone with you in certain cities, you can get arrested. I mean, I'm not making this up, but and it's funny because we had a Center for China Studies at the university I worked at, and so for years and years and years, I've been with Chinese scholars. I brought them over. I would get their visas for them and all, and lovely people, just hardworking scientists and scholars, but very not as relaxed as we are, of course, very businesslike and not well, it's a different culture, we're all these different cultures, but I'd say China is pretty, I don't know why I can't get the word out.
The industrious, maybe.
I don't know, whatever. But I really enjoyed. Well, of course, I enjoy everybody I meet because I find something interesting about everyone.
Yeah. Oh no, the Chinese are wonderful people. They when Hong Kong was being turned back over to China, they were on a 99-year lease with Britain.
Yeah.
They had a former British passport, but it wasn't the same type of passport as someone who had been born in Great Britain. So of course, there was great fear and trepidation when this lease was ending. This was 1997, I think. and I can't remember. I think it was 1997, and Britain refused to allow permanent entry to the Hong Kong citizenry, which to me was a big mistake because these are very industrious people, well behaved. They could have added a lot, I think, to Great Britain, and they refused. They just turned their backs on them. Happily today, I guess they've been melded into Greater China, and they've actually influenced mainland China more than I think the opposite. I missed that comment that was just on. What?
Oh, neoliberalism is spreading, going global. I mean, I look at that and Sarah's right. The right side of the aisle, the right wing, the fascism, the stuff that's spreading, it's scary, but it kind of like feels, sometimes I think it's just apropos for the apocalyptic times we live in, that this would happen. I mean, humans will go out with a
look how globally we're connected, Sandy, both politically and economically. I mean, economically, obviously, we are currencies and equities trade 24/7, basically globally, and politically, obviously, similar. It's the information age has certainly led to this. So, I mean, we don't have national phenomena anymore. It's global phenomena.
Hey, Jackie's got a good comment. I'll put it up, take up the screen, but I think democracy could work if we created a good pool of candidates, education, age, health, and pulled names out of a hat instead of elections. Even when people are forced to vote, the election system doesn't work well. Think Australia. However, I do think environmental stresses are almost too great now for anything to work. But we've got to try everything, right? Why not? I mean, I don't say everything. That's wrong. No, we don't have to try everything. But I always say we're here till we're not, and nobody's rolling over to play dead. We're here till we're not, and nobody's going to roll over and play dead and say, I mean, not many I know are going to say, well, climate change is here, we're screwed. So I'm gonna just, I don't know. I don't feel that way.
Maybe no, we're here till we're not, Sandy.
Maybe there are people that do, but I don't. I enjoy life when I'm not hurting, but I think everybody that's here with us is feels similar to what we're saying.
Right. Main thing is pursue what you love, and I know there's little allowance for that, given. I mean, for some people, given work duties, family duties, corporate impositions on our lifestyles, but try and allow for doing what you really love, things that you really love, at least for our final years. That's something I focused on personally, and I feel happy about it. I do have a job, fortunately, that allows me 4 nights off per week. Now, a good portion of that is spent in sleep recapture, but
right.
Other than that, I can't complain, and I hope. But I think that's Guy's message. Just do the things you love, and I certainly agree on
I
that.
try. If I could get my neck fixed so I didn't feel like a bowling ball on a pool cue, maybe I could be a little bit more effective and not suffer. But I am in a phase of life where things are not working right, but I think that I will overcome it. Just give it time. And this is what I love to do because I don't get out a lot as much as I used to. I do live rurally, and I was with flesh and blood friends last night, and then I'm with and I can't even call y'all cellulose friends because you're all flesh and blood. You're just somewhere else. Right. Hey, James is here. James McGee. He's another awesome, amazing young man. Do what you can local and connect and support global. Do not depend on the government to do what needs you when you can do it yourself. And James is, I don't know if you're a full out libertarian, but James has, he's got I think a very unique viewpoint on the world. And he has, James, type out your company. He's interesting. I also have an interview with him you'd probably like. He's very young, but they're entrepreneurs, and they deal in a green currency. It's really neat, Paul. I'll send you a link. You'll probably really like what James does.
Oh yeah, I'm
It's
sure
a
it
very
would.
giving. They work to give like solar to people that can't afford it, seniors or um wait, Karen said maybe, yeah, Guy McPherson. That's what I think that's who he was
Yes,
mentioning.
that's correct.
But James is cool. Like there's just so
So,
many
so
amazing
folks,
people.
even if we're caught up in the hamster wheel of work and or duties, not only do the things, at least, and I'm not trying to preach, but I espouse not only doing the things that really provide meaning, but also try and resist corporate dominance over your lives. Now, in order to do that, you've got to think about the myriad of ways in which corporations do dominate our lives. Okay, now I've elected, I'm not saying everybody do this, but I've elected to do without a television set. I haven't had a television set for 5 years because I refuse to have companies market to me, which they do often with commercials and so on. I don't have a smartphone. I do have a PC, which I use, of course, but basically when I go out and about, I don't want to be sitting there, typing away, with messengers and Facebook. And I mean, my gosh, I burn enough time doing that.
Well, I'm pathetic. I do.
I certainly don't. Well, again, this is not a message for everybody. This is just what I do. I don't want.
Well, you're not stuck in the house like me.
Yeah, good point.
And social media for disabled people is a godsend.
But I got my, I just take a book instead around with me, and that's still solitary. That's still solitary. Yeah. It's not so. But the point is, be attuned to. Like, I can't take mainstream news because it's pure propaganda.
None of us can.
Yeah. So, question. Look at the ways in which we march to the beat of corporate America, or the global corporations, and try and resist that any way you can, or just opt out. I bet probably a lot of your audience are quote more off grid than I am. I think to find some degree of self-actualization, we're going to have to figure out what part of our lives is really devoted to quote working for the man, or following the dictates of the corporate culture. So
and that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's tough because I mean there's the whole school of the only way to slow down the Titanic ship we're on of abrupt climate change is to bring the house down. Like, we won't talk about that on this video, but like, Lord, you are a dumbass video, and how he talks about, he's very radical. But that, guys, I put one of his videos on our page. But it's a new person I discovered.
Yeah.
I discovered him from Torstein, but man, I'm glued because he's a historian. And so when I do listen to his videos, this guy is a historian. Really.
You have a nice, easy background too. He's I think it's in Crete or something. He's in the boat. And it's wonderful. I mean, I could tell the South African accent. The first thing I thought about when I heard him, I said, "Oh, he sounds like he's South African," which is always a wonderful accent. I've always liked that type of accent.
Here's James's company. IEO, or Increased Economic Opportunity, is my company to try and give solar to elderly and veterans, as well as resource management like recycling. It is a hard go, but we won't give up. EGC is global give and take to and from green community members with a currency that uses considerably less resources. There you go. Admirable. Yeah, James. Thank you, James, for providing that. I try to promote amazing people, which you're here.
Yeah, you're a natural promoter, Sandy.
I am a natural promoter because I can't I can't do a whole lot, but I can certainly help others. And, maybe that's what I'm.
Yeah, we got to put you in a can and sell you off to China and all these other places to do your promotions.
Yeah. Oh, I'm promoting the
Hair.
doomer view of life. Oh, Keith. Keith asked a question. How are the floods and tornado season going in the Midwest? Well, I'll have to bring Nicholas back on. And Jackie said, what did I find? Oh, Jackie. Okay. On YouTube. I'll put it up. I'll put a link up. His name, he calls himself Lord Hugh, Hughr, a dumbass. It was kind of a joke, but his videos are really interesting. I mean,
I don't like the title.
pedagogy, if you're academically inclined and you want to hear somebody that's different.
Oh, I like him. Does good videos.
Yeah. And I listen to videos. I put my headset on things that are wireless, so I'm probably going to get brain cancer. But I walk around the house doing all my things, but I listen to videos because that's what I do. I listen to the videos. I don't always be able to watch them, but I listen to them and I get a lot out of that. I hate television also, but I have them. My husband likes TV. But you know what I do like to do, Paul? I think I talked about this before. I like shows like Hoarders and, I don't know, maybe I'm a voyeur or gawker or something, but those kind of shows, I don't know why I am attracted to them. Maybe it's because I have a degree in psychology and I look at these people and think, how do they fit into whatever paradigm but that's about it.
Jenny, I used to like them up to the point until I saw producer manipulation. That say for a show like The American Pickers, for example,
okay,
they started setting them up, and these guys are not really knocking on a door for the first time, and the door being answered. It's all set up, and
it changed a lot.
So, I mean, Hoarders, I don't know. I mean, Hoarders might be different.
Hoarders, these people are unbelievable. I mean, the psychological makeup of their personalities that has led them to their lifestyle. I can't help by being fascinated by those people. But I guess
they are fascinating.
I was going to be a clinical psychologist before I sort of veered off into HR. And I don't know. I just have a thing for learning about these kind of different personalities.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean they are they have difficulty letting things go, and that empty pizza box represents something to them, that an aspect of their life that they simply don't want to let go. It's really interesting.
Heidi has something. Wait, please share my question about the Green New Deal being based on Hydro-Quebec's electricity. Did you have another point, Heidi? Oh, here it is. Let me share this one. Heidi says, can we please get an update on the status of New York City's Green New Deal being based on the buying of Hydro-Quebec's cultural genocide and ecological ethnic cleansing caused electricity because of the mercury poisoning from their mega dams? Wow, Heidi. Yeah. I don't know who's with us that has information on that, but you know what? You've put it up, and it's something. I'll put a call out.
It's not really surprising given our energy needs are so immense and growing, that and then there's a question of nuclear provided energy. So there's just no good end to any of this, folks. I mean, we really need that solar power and wind. I mean, again, I'm not experts in any of this, but we've got to address our needs in a different way.
Yeah. I don't, Heidi, I really don't know enough on that specific issue. But you know what? I will now. Brought it up, and I'll put a call out for somebody that might want to talk about that. I actually have somebody that's going to come on with me. It's going to be an interesting discussion because he actually is going to talk about nuclear fission and the current status of nuclear energy. And
that would be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I'm not a pro-nuclear person, but I want to hear all voices.
Absolutely.
Except for a rampant climate denying scumbag. Forget that. But anyway, I digress. I can't do that.
Well, Sandy, I'm actually on call
Yeah.
tonight.
And I was just looking, we've been on a little over an hour. And
I
that's a long
really
time.
appreciated the opportunity to go on live with you. Certainly, again, my partner Brian, my work partner Brian, was unable to join us. Is there any way we can write the links to our YouTube channel and Facebook channel? Is there any way
Yeah.
to do that?
I will have everything in the video when it's finished, when I do it and then upload it to YouTube and all that.
I'm impressed with your viewers. They seem well informed and would like further interaction with them.
They're wonderful.
And with
Thank
you,
you, everyone. Thank
yeah.
you, Paul.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for having me on.
This was great. And I will leave with one thing that Heidi said. We need to revolutionize our electricity supply. I recently heard about windows that can deliver electricity. So things are happening. And Heidi,
I agree with that.
I gave you the last word. So peace, everybody. Thanks for coming. I know it was a whole hour, but it went really fast. Thanks
for sharing your Sunday.
I really had a good time. Bye, guys. Peace.